All right, extravagant celebrations or intimate gatherings, weddings have always been about creating memories. But in today's world, where sustainability, making conscious choices, has become such a crucial concern, even a matter of pride for people, on TBC, we thought we'll talk about how you can celebrate without compromising on the joy and grandeur. So it's all about green weddings today.
And essentially, over the last month, we had a wedding series. We talked about various wedding photographers, planners, and we talked about this idea of a green wedding, whether it's actually a possibility or not, whether people are doing it. It is an emerging trend. But we wanted to understand how couples are actually making it a reality, how they're including low-waste practices into their weddings to make a sustainable wedding. Does it pinch the pocket? Can you still have a large wedding if you want to make it sustainable? To tell us all of this, we thought on the show we'd bring on two couples who've made green weddings a reality for themselves. So first up, our first couple that is joining us this morning are Ashwin and Nupur. They're actually approaching their 5-year anniversary and they made all of this a reality for themselves in a very eco-friendly manner. And after that, actually, they launched in 2020 Green Miner to help other couples make weddings a reality that are eco-friendly. So we'll come over to both of you. Ashwin, Nupur, thank you for joining us early in the morning. Tell us first a little bit more about your own wedding. So how did you approach thinking through it? Did you always know you wanted a green wedding? Did you have to convince relatives, friends around you ki ye karna hai? Tell us a little bit.
Hi, thank you so much for having us. We are early risers, so no worries on the morning bit. I think Ashwin and I, we met at a beach cleanup. So we were very, very sure that we will definitely have a green wedding. And I think when we approached our wedding planning, the only idea that we had was that, we will not use anything that we pick up on the beach. So, with that in the whole sphere of things, it was kind of easy for us because we knew what to avoid, what not to use, what brief to give our family because we ended up organizing it ourselves. And I'm from the East, he's from the West, and environment brought us together. So, yes.
How beautiful. East meets the West in a very eco-friendly environment. We absolutely love that. But I'm sure 5 years down the line, do you feel like organizing a green wedding made you miss out on something big? I'm just trying to think about, these days when people imagine their wedding, they want grand entries and firecrackers and like God knows what all these days really. So do you feel like you missed out on something?
Not really. I think, the aftermath of a lavish or a big wedding, which is wasteful, is quite an eyesore. And we've seen that over the years. So we knew what comes after the day after the wedding, how the venue looks like. So we very well knew that we do not want to have the aftermath of a wedding and wasteful and pick up the same trash that we created at a wedding on the beach the next day. So that is what something bothered us very much. And when we started our journey doing beach cleanups, we saw thousands of kilos of waste that was lying, which is decor waste, from weddings. And we were very, very clear that, the day we actually get married, we are not going to create the same amount of waste that you find on the beach.
Good for you.
Very cool. Okay, can we ask you, let's really get to the question I feel like that has been on all of our minds. Is it more expensive than a regular wedding? Tell us, if you don't mind, tell us how much you spent on your wedding. And I know that you've now helped other couples organize their weddings. So what are the prices like? Do you have to keep it small and intimate, for the prices to make sense? Break it down for us.
To be honest, their eco-friendly alternatives are more expensive than what you end up using. But I think the way we approach, at least for our wedding, it was very simple that our budgets was fixed. It was about 15 to 20 lakhs. We didn't want to spend more than that. And we had a limited guest count of 240 to 260 people who attended our wedding. And for us, the biggest thing was that if our budget's fixed and we want to go with alternatives, what are the things we don't really want to give so much importance to? So, for example, we did away with the pre-wedding photo shoot. In fact, we used to just take BTS of, how we are making it sustainable. And that became a pre-wedding journey. So instead of spending money there, we used that money to kind of put glass bottles in all the rooms where our guests stayed. And we gave those glass bottles to the hotel owners. So I think the idea is to have kind of a barter system, what you want not to use and what you want to use. Like I wore my mother's lehenga, so I literally saved like thousands right away, because I just decided to follow that something blue, something borrow, like that whole concept that is there. I did that, and I think just kind of being conscious of what is not so important and what is important. You just do a deal, with yourself, and yeah, knowing that environment is more important than anything else.
Yeah. Ashwin, can I have a business question from you then? Then now when you have clients approach you, is there a definite pickup, say in younger people, or I would like to say even older people who decide to get married or, or remarried, etc. Do they come now with a particular notion in mind? Do you see a rise in the trend of people wanting to not create more waste at the expense of a wedding?
Absolutely. I think we've got every month we get at least 10 to 15 queries. That speaks volumes about, couples out there intending to, wanting to do a eco-friendly wedding. What we realize is people want to do it, but just don't know how to go about it. And that's where I think Green Mina steps in.
True.
Because, convincing parents, convince relatives, that it starts from there. And then, allocating budgets for the same, because as I said, there's a false notion that green weddings are expensive. So we have to break that down first. So the convincing part to the couples and to the families begins from that. This is like a regular wedding. This is not an awareness program. And once we start with that, then, we kind of break it down. We're actually basically going 50, 100 years ago when weddings were actually held. And India was a largely very sustainable country. So if you look at how our parents got married, or grandparents, that's how we are actually going back to our roots.
And just to pitch in here, a lot of our queries come from like a tier 2, tier 3 cities, which is also very surprising for us. Like we have done weddings in places like Anjar and Raipur. Sometimes when we get a query, we have to Google where it is in our country. It's just literally that. So to be honest, I think it's very surprising that we are getting queries from not just the NRI crowd, from the young people. It's actually a very healthy mix.
Nice. Can we just ask you, in the wedding traditions that typically happen with couples, is there one ritual in particular or one part of the wedding in particular that has been trickiest for you to make eco-friendly? What was that, and what's your sort of hack around it?
Yeah, I think a couple of them, and for just not one, but one of them was obviously floral waste, right? A lot of natural flowers come in oases. The green floral foam that you see, and we collected again lots of it on the beaches of Mumbai. What we do instead of the floral foam is we use banana stem or aloe vera. So it has the same properties as what the green floral foam does, but it's completely biodegradable. Secondly, maybe there is a custom in Maharashtrian wedding at least of throwing rice on the couple when they're taking the fairas. And we realized that hundreds of kilos of grains are wasted just as exercise. And we said, okay, let's have a bowl of rice, take it around, let all the guests touch it, and then you just put a few grains on the couple. That way you also reduce food wastage. So we go all the way, the minute of details on how we can make a wedding sustainable is what we Green Mina sets out to do. And this is all coming from our personal experience. We haven't done any kind of study or an experience we built on every wedding is a learning for us.
Even for our wedding, the gifts, you have the gifts, right? And you kind of package it with plastic because you want it see-through, kind of, show what's been given, what's not been given. So we kind of use those paper. We use paper, but for a lot of weddings, you need Oasis kind of like sheer fabric. And after the wedding, we make potlis out of it, where you can give gifts to it. So it's just about being conscious of every little thing that you're doing.
All right, Ashwin and Nupur, thank you so much for sharing those details. We were just looking at your lovely wedding pictures as well. Looked like a lot of fun, and I think that's what's really key, right, when it comes to your big day. But that's not it. We've also got another couple. So Ashwin and Nupur actually do this for a living now. They help other people organize events, weddings, and the rest of it in a green way. But we are meeting now somebody, Seher and Mehul, who also had an eco-friendly wedding, and they also set in a blueprint of sorts on how to keep it more responsible, even if you're having it abroad. So welcome on the program. Thank you so much for joining us. My first question obviously is this: where did the thought of a green wedding actually come from? And घर वालों ने क्या बोला कि ये क्या campaigning चल रही है?
Hi everyone, thank you so much for having us. So excited to talk about sustainable weddings this morning. So actually, Mehul and I are really into sustainability. Personally, I studied it. We also together run a sustainable organization. So I think it was not, uh, you know, it was kind of a very easy transition. Everyone expected that we would have a sustainable wedding. So in terms of communicating, we did kind of have a little lunch with both of our parents early on, maybe even a year before our wedding, and said, you know what, these are few things that Mehul and I have discussed and talked about that we'd love to articulate to you because we want to incorporate into our wedding. And we discussed everything, like, the budget's going to be 50-50. We're going to pick and choose a few ceremonies that might be important to you and then make our own ceremony. So I think having that conversation upfront with our parents is really, I think, set the stage. But I think we have really supportive parents.
Yeah.
So we're really grateful for that because they were just like all yeses and all yeas for everything that we suggested.
That's awesome. So your wedding actually happened in Thailand, I believe, on the beaches of Thailand. Can you just tell us a little bit about the rituals? Because there was a lot of thought that went into creating very unique rituals for this wedding. What were those rituals? Just share with our audiences, please.
Yeah, sure. So we started off with, having the wedding on the beach. We didn't choose a mosque or a temple because nature is sacred to us. Next, we started with the tree planting. We started planting with a coconut tree because it's native to Thailand. It's also, a tree that my dad had in our house, and it was the first drink that was offered to Mehul's parents when they came home from that coconut tree that my dad planted many years before he passed, actually. So it was a way to also kind of incorporate him into the ceremony. And then we asked our parents to officiate. We thought, having an imam or a priest that we've never met before officiate our big day was not in alignment with us. And we really kind of were appreciative to our parents. So we had them officiate the wedding. We also asked them, what are a few things that are important to them? And they said, like a garland exchange. So we incorporated a really nice, eco-friendly, completely compostable garland, for example. For my mom, it was incorporating a version of a nikah. So we signed a little Canva document that we designed printed on recycled paper. And I think we shared our vows that were really personal and really deep. And I think that's my favorite part, honestly, of our wedding is Mehul's vows.
Okay. So coming back to the sustainability theme then, are there certain areas where you felt it was a bit of a struggle to incorporate it, or certain things you had to let go of because you were so determined to keep it green?
I think it really depends. So when I went into this itself with Seher, I really thought that not everything cannot be 100% sustainable.
Yeah.
And we were trying our best to kind of make it as sustainable as possible. And you need to be aware that, it cannot become fully sustainable all at once within one wedding itself. It's a journey. So what we struggled with for sure is, of course, first of all, coming to terms that our wedding was kind of abroad. We wanted to do it, of course, locally, but there were circumstances that we couldn't kind of avoid, and we had to do it somewhere else. So coming to terms with that itself mentally is tough, considering we are in a sustainable business. We're thinking about all these things, and then suddenly it's like, oh, you know what, you have to go somewhere else to get married. Was kind of tough, but we came to terms with that. We kind of did this whole climate situation, carbon offsetting situation, where we kind of thought that is a good solution. Then another aspect that did take a little bit of time is, of course, the food aspect of things. Everyone has different kind of dietary restrictions, dietary requirements. So we really wanted to kind of cater to all kinds of people, but we asked everyone before we kind of did a full-on decision about what food is going to be there. We asked everyone what their requirements are and what it would be. So that takes effort to kind of like get everyone to respond to us and tell us what they're going to eat. But that is like, again, something that I feel like was something that we need to learn to do rather than just put a full spread. Can we understand what the audience or our guests wanted before we actually put together a celebration like this?
Can you tell us, both of you, Seher, Mehul, just tell us, we just showed our audiences visuals of a beach cleanup that I think you made your guests do. Post the wedding, what has the feedback been like? Has there been a ripple effect? Have you seen, the people who came talk about it months later? And during that beach cleanup, was anyone complaining?
Yeah, we did mention that was optional because it was the day after, everyone danced till like 5 a.m. and the next morning we're like, all right, beach cleanup at 8 a.m. But I think, and my mom's only request was, please have it after the wedding ceremony because you're not gonna get super tan and you're gonna spend the whole day really sweaty and, on the beach. So yeah, so it's all about kind of finding a good way to, meet at the median. But I think it was a great way to articulate our values to, I think, 3 generations. We had grandparents, we have our nieces and nephews, and then, of course, our peers. So I feel like it was an opportunity to communicate that you can have a sustainable wedding that is super fun, but is super thoughtful and mindful, and kind of invite everyone into our value system. So I think that was really something that I took back. And even now, whenever people talk about weddings, they always say like, "Gosh, I think it was the most meaningful ceremony." Because often, they're long ceremonies, and you just feel so disconnected. You're just there, but then you're like, "Okay, when is the sangeet? When is the dancing part? When's the fun part?" But I think everyone felt the most connected during our wedding ceremony itself, which was kind of a new thing. My nieces and nephews, and a part of the beach cleanup, which was so sweet to see it. They were like the most excited by that as well.
How lovely. So teaching next generation too, in a sense.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. All right, Seher and Mehul, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your green wedding story with all our viewers. We are hoping that we've inspired some more to say that, listen, hey, green weddings also can be fun, and the environment will really bless you if that's really what you're going for. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
On that note, we're going to slip into a break coming